my name's Diane. You're currently watching the Just Kidding Around show. We're so glad you could be with us today. Each week, we bring new talent to our viewership, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to today's talent. Her name is Robyn Chance. Hi, Robyn.
Hi, Diane.
And I met Robyn at an art walk, and to say she's an artist is doesn't give her all the credit she is due. Besides being an artist, you're also an
author and children's picture book illustrator.
And an illustrator, so you do a lot of things. Yeah. Before we get started, Robyn, we'd like to look in the camera and say hello to somebody in our viewership. Is there somebody you'd like to say hello to?
I can say hello to my family, and my son Evan, my daughter Emily, Morgan, Stephen, and my husband David.
Okay, hi to all those people. And I think I'll give a shout out to Courtney Martin. Hi, Courtney. I just saw you in the studio a few minutes ago. So she's being trained to use the facilities too. Wow, so where do we start? Do you want to, can we talk about some of the artwork surrounding us? Did you do all this yourself?
Yes, I did all of these, and one of the reasons that I brought these particular pieces is to just give a little bit of an example of the style of work that I do, but also the different mediums that I work in. And so the one on the the cherry blossoms.
I'm wondering if the cameras could get a picture of the one far right, our right, so it'd be their left. The cherry blossoms, could we get a close-up of that, please? And what medium, what did you use for that?
That actually is watercolor. I also used Indian ink. And Indian ink is, you can use it like a watercolor. It's an ink that's black.
All right.
And depending on how much water you add to it, you get a tonal difference. The values change. And so I'm able to get a really nice deep black with that one.
And do you sketch something like that out first?
I always do, yeah.
Before you?
I draw everything out before I paint it.
Okay.
And so there's pencil under everything.
All right, and that's watercolor. Is that the original?
That's the original of that particular one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And some of your artwork you have made into cards, don't you?
Yes.
Because I own a couple of your cards.
Yeah.
So is that one a card?
No, but it could be.
That would be a beautiful card. Yeah, it looks kind of Japanese to me, Asian
very
influence.
Chinese influence. When I was in China, I bought a beautiful Chinese painting done by a gentleman that was all cherry blossoms, and I was really inspired by it. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah. And what about the lions? What can you tell me? That's one of my two favorites.
Yeah, the lions is watercolor.
Wow.
That one took a while. It probably took me a couple weeks to draw it out. And then when you're painting with watercolor, in order to get that depth of color, you have to go over and over and over it. So one little section of its mane may take me 8 hours to get
Oh my goodness! So how long did it take you to do the lions?
From start to finish, it probably was. It's hard to say because I drew it out and I didn't know what I wanted to do with it for a while. But I would say probably a couple months.
Couple months. Yeah. And is that the original we're looking at?
No, the original sold.
It's sold.
Yeah.
Was the original larger than that, or is that the actual size?
Yeah, the original was larger. Yeah.
Yeah. And what inspired you? That's not from China.
No, what it really inspires me in painting is telling stories. And it has to have some sort of an emotional quality to it. I want to get drawn in. I want to have a story going on in my head about it, and that does that for me. It's just a really emotional, sweet moment that just happened to be captured.
But this was out of your head, isn't it? Did you actually see a photograph or something?
Sometimes I am inspired by photographs. And when I'm going to get, since I don't actually have never gone to Africa or taken pictures of wild lions, I did look at photographs in order to get their
so
dimensions.
They actually can be affectionate like that?
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Oh really?
Yes.
So a male and female lion could
be affectionate.
That's amazing. Yeah. I just love that picture. And that's just watercolors.
That's just watercolors.
Wow. That is just beautiful.
Thank you.
So, and then what about the next one?
This one is called A Winter's Walk. This is, again, just inspired from a moment caught in time that for me seems sweet and emotional. For me, it's a mom and her daughter returning from the grocery.
Do you know those people then?
No, I just made it up.
Oh, okay.
Everybody has their own story about it. It's
Yeah.
very interesting. This one is done in open acrylic, which is like oil. It's acrylic paint so that it's not toxic like oil paints can be, and it's much easier to work with and clean up, but it stays open. It doesn't shut down, so you can work with it for over a longer period of time. Yeah.
By staying open, you mean it doesn't dry?
It doesn't dry. And
you're
you can
kidding.
add things to stretch out the drying time, or you can shorten the drying time.
So
with
is that
it.
dry?
This is dry.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. But
this is actually a print. The original of A Winter's Walk sold. I don't have that one.
Okay,
anymore.
so that's interesting that you have examples of Indian ink, watercolor, and acrylic over
Yes.
there. That's not typical of most artists, is it? Don't they usually favor?
I don't know. I guess. I think I just like to play. Different images for me require different medium for the story to be told the way I want to. And so I like to just try different things. And I'm doing gouache now too. So
Gouache?
Yeah, which is it's like watercolor, but it's not translucent. It's opaque. So.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So you really kind of get involved. Do you think most artists get involved with what they're?
I think a lot of artists
have
like
emotion with that.
Oh well, I think generally artists do feel connected to what they're creating, and there is an emotional connection to their artwork. I think that is true, yeah, that they're inspired by something and they feel connected to it, and there's, however it comes out, in the final product.
Well, I know when I look at art, I'm inspired. So it's interesting. I'm wondering if I get the same emotion that the artist puts into it,
I don't know. That's the nice thing about these. It's always just, I talk to my paintings. Amelia.
Oh, really?
Amelia.
Is this one Amelia right here by me?
She's a work in progress. And the reason I brought Amelia is it gives you an idea of sort of what I do. And you can see underneath where I haven't yet painted, it's sketched out.
Okay, so this one is not done. It's a work in progress.
It's incomplete. Yeah, it's not done. Yeah, I've been working on her for a while. She's been in my art studio, so I talk to her a lot. She's up on an easel, and
now is this a talent that your whole family has?
My sister is a published author.
Oh.
I have another sister who's a massage therapist. I have another sister who works for hospitals. So.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Okay, but I was thinking of your kids, so too. Did they get your
My daughter
talent?
Emily is very much an artist. My son Morgan is a drummer. Evan is a rapper.
Oh, cool! So you've got from an artistic family.
Yeah.
So, and we've got to talk about the elephants. Please tell me. I love the elephants and the lions. What would you like to say about the elephant?
The elephant is a watercolor. It's just sort of the same thing. Just an idea captures me.
Is it a mom with the?
It's a mom with her calf. It's a sweet moment that's sort of captured, and it's quiet. A lot of times, I think my art is kind of quiet.
That's funny. You said that. It's not real busy. It is quiet.
It's quiet, yeah.
That's true. And I see affection in the elephants too.
Yeah, absolutely. I love elephants. I've painted numerous elephants, all different ways. I have a jade elephant in C is for China. I have an elephant procession. These elephants. Anyway, yeah, I've painted a lot of elephants.
Yeah.
I love elephants.
Wow, beautiful. And then the last one over there is that a koi?
Those are
from
koi.
Japan?
Yep, those are koi, and that's an open acrylic print. There.
We're back to acrylics, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, but that's the print. Now, isn't it true that you actually teach classes?
I do offer classes, on open acrylic or watercolor. I did also teach drawing.
So if somebody, I think they have a lower third out there with your website on it. So if people wanted to know more about you, could they go to your website?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a place on my website they could contact me if they wanted to talk specifically about classes.
About classes, okay.
Or anything, really. I mean, if they wanted to just get in touch with me.
All right. And then you're a published author. We
Yes.
have to talk about these books. I shouldn't ask this, but do you have a favorite? Is that a bad thing
because
to
they're
say?
very, very different. The book you're holding up is a fiction about a black sheep named Eula. And that actually came from a standalone painting that I did years ago when I was kind of playing around with. There are some beautiful old children's picture book illustrations and some new ones as well, but they're beautiful pieces of artwork. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to just do a series of paintings where it's like you found this painting that you love and you took it out of the book with the text on it and you framed it. And so I did a series of those, and one of them was of a black sheep. And it was, she had a suitcase that says Ireland or bus, and she had red galoshes, and it said, you know.
She's going to Ireland.
Yeah, not this Eula, I had to change her, but yeah, it had been a bad
So which was
day.
the beginning picture?
This one was inspired from it. I didn't bring the original, but this particular one was inspired.
This picture inspired the entire book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to just say this now while I'm thinking of this. And, you know, when you think of your Picassos or any of them, or Van Goghs, or the great artists, or the portrait artists, or any of those guys from years ago, I just really feel like if they were alive today, they'd be illustrating children's books. Because, you know, there are other, what would I say, it isn't really available anymore. Because now instead of painting portraits, we take photographs or whatever, oftentimes. And I just look at children's books a lot of times as being, they're amazing. They're so
Yes.
gorgeous.
And really
Beautiful artwork in
a
children's
variety of artistic styles. And one of the things that's really nice about children's picture books and illustration is that it's really introducing children to a variety of mediums and a variety of artistic styles and artistic expression, from the cartoon to the graphic novel style to you know, my style to more elaborate. It's just there's just a lot to offer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this one was, how was this done? This was your first?
No, this one was my
Oh, that
first.
was your first.
CS
Okay,
for
let's
China
talk
was
about,
my first.
Okay. And what inspired you to write this book?
Going to China and adopting our daughter. When we went through that, actually that's Emily on
How
the
old
cover.
was she when
When I actually got to China, she had just turned 3.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and actually that backpack is from the old Wind Up Here toy store here in Olympia, and I took to her and she still has that backpack. So when we got back, of course, I'm also a teacher and I'm a social studies and language arts teacher, and when we had guides everywhere we went, and I asked a ton of questions, took a ton of pictures. When we got back to the States, Emily, at 3 years old, wanted nothing to do with China. So if you said, "Ni hao, Emily," she would say, "Do not say ni hao to me." You know, "Oh, we're gonna have rice for dinner." Rice. So anything that you brought up, she just wasn't interested. And so I thought, how can I help ease this transition into her new life so she can appreciate her now American citizenship, but also appreciate the hugely significant culture that she came from. And so I thought, I was home for the year, I'll just illustrate and create a children's picture book. And without the idea that I was ever going to get it published, I just sat down and did it. And so every day I was talking about China and painting things about China, and Emily would sit next to me and she would paint. She painted and did her artwork. And when the book was done, about 9 months it took me to do. She declared
the book.
she declared she was China's biggest fan. So it worked. Yeah, but
so the mission was accomplished.
Yeah.
Then.
So this is really a nonfiction of China. I think one of the things that was really important to me about this book was I really wanted it to be about real China. I wanted it to be about old China and the new China and some of the transformations China has been through. About their mythology and their traditions, and so I really probably the thing that took me the longest was coming up with the alphabet that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, it's beautiful. So could you do me a favor? Could you just read this first this little paragraph. Would you mind reading that?
The first little paragraph?
This right here in July 2006. Would you mind?
No, it says, in July 2006, my family embarked upon an amazing journey that led us to our beautiful daughter, Emma Lee. She was living in an orphanage in Sichuan, China, in a small village known as Yabin. The journey was full of all kinds of challenges, but most journeys that carry meaning and importance in our lives are.
Oh, goodness. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
What a dedication, although that isn't the
Yes.
dedication.
Yeah.
Is there a special page you want to read? I think we only have about 5 more minutes, but so it's an alphabet book, and it's about China. So,
And one of the things I wanted to do with this is you'll notice that on each page, if I'm talking about, like, say, B is for Buddha here, there is Buddha written in Chinese character, and I signed every one of the illustrations with my chop, which is how artists sign.
so
their
how do
work
you know? Do you
in
actually
Chinese.
speak Chinese?
No, I actually had help with these characters. You can go onto Google and do Google Translate.
Okay.
But then I actually had a Chinese person go through and make sure that everything was.
Okay. All right. And so each one. So this one's actually a nonfiction book.
This is nonfiction, yeah.
Which of course means that it's factual.
Yes.
And this took 9 months, huh?
Yes.
Wow. And this would be.
Emperor.
And that's how you write emperor?
Yeah.
Wow. My niece is living in Japan now, and I know, they're it's not like China, really, but it's an Asian country, and their alphabet is also,
Yes, in calligraphy, kind of a calligraphy.
It's difficult
yes, it is.
to learn. I know that. She's having a hard time, and she's quite smart. So this is beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, this is my brand new one. This book just came out a couple of weeks ago. And there are actually going to be little Eula stuffed animals that are being made to go with
me.
it. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, how exciting is that?
Yeah.
So now you're a classroom teacher that taught in the public schools for how many years?
16.
16. But you're not teaching currently?
No, I took a leave of absence so I could work just on my artwork.
So do you ever visit classrooms
Yes,
or
I do.
libraries?
Yes.
Public libraries or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have. C is for China was being used in the 6th grade classroom at Washington Middle School when they were studying China. And then Laura Wright, one of the teachers, had me come in and teach a little bit about how I put together a children's picture book and teach some of the art. So it was really fun.
Oh, how exciting. I heard you brought something with you. Did you bring some water or something?
Yes.
I know you brought some water because, and were you going to say something about the paper that you start with, or what exactly is that?
Okay, so when you're doing watercolor, one thing that a lot of people may or may not know is that watercolor paper is cotton, and it's pressed cotton. It's either cold press or hot press cotton. And in order to keep your image from warping, you have to stretch the paper, and so that a couple things happen. One is you can add more and more and more water and go over things without the paper warping.
Okay.
And the other is that it allows the cotton to kind of take in more of the color of the pigment.
Oh, so is that what
Stretching
you
the
used on
cotton
the
out.
lions? And that's how you got that deep, intense?
Well, that's multiple. That's a lot of layering.
Oh, okay.
That's going over and over and over. But that is what you would want to do before you did something like that, was stretch the paper, because cotton, it can only hold so much. And it's just like if you think about a cotton shirt. If you put it in the dryer, it shrinks, and if you don't, it stretches, and it's the same. It's sort of the same
so
idea.
watercolor paper is always cotton?
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew it was just
and
watercolor
another thing,
paper.
here I have a couple sheets of it. Another thing you'll notice about watercolor paper, this is cold press, and it's 140 pounds, so this is for sure we'd want to stretch it. At 300 pounds, which just means it's thicker, you don't...
This is thick.
Yeah, this is 140, so it'll be twice as thick, for about a little more than twice as thick for the 300, but I still stretch it, because I go over and over.
And you stretch it once again so it will absorb more?
You stretch it to prepare the paper so that the cotton is actually stretched out, so when you're adding water to it, it's not trying to constrict, right? It doesn't.
Okay, so it's already kind of waterlogged, so it's not trying to.
That's right. Does
that make sense?
It's not drying and then coming
so
together.
were you going to show us how to do that? But I do have to interrupt to ask: were these done with watercolors?
Yes, both of my children's picture books.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish I had a little.
And I did a series of black
ink,
pen and ink illustrations for a new young adult fiction that just came out this last June called The Shadows.
Oh.
And then I'm doing a new middle grade book with another author I'm going to be illustrating.
Oh, so you also illustrate for.
Yeah.
We're going to have you back on. So should we do we have enough time to do this now? How long does this take?
It doesn't take that long.
Oh, let's do it. Okay. Let's go for it.
So one of the things I want you to notice about your watercolor paper is one side, if you feel it, is rough.
10 minutes?
And
we have 10 more minutes.
Oh, okay.
This is only a half-hour show, and a few minutes ago we had 7 minutes. Well, we've got 10 minutes. All right, let's go.
Because we're so interesting, they want us to keep talking.
I don't know, but this is only a half-hour show, just so they know that.
This, you'll feel there's a smooth side and a rough side.
All right.
Now, if you turn it over, you'll probably have your rough side. Feel the difference?
Oh, big. All watercolor papers like that?
Pretty much,
That's odd, because I've done a lot of shows, and nobody's ever told me that.
Yeah. Well, then you get to decide whether you want a smooth finish or a rough finish for your artwork. Okay?
All right.
So normally I would do this in a sink, but we don't have one here, so I'm going to get out this tub of water that I brought.
Okay, but normally you do this in a sink.
Yeah, I do it in a sink. And then you're also going to get a piece of this, which we call acoustic board. This is what I use for stretching the paper on it. And this is actually what I would paint on as well. Okay?
Oh, all right.
So I'm going to give you a piece of that.
Now, it's interesting that you were a social studies teacher. You didn't teach art.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I didn't get endorsed in art. All right. So, okay, this is what we're going to do. So you're going to take your paper and you're just going to let it absorb the water. You want it to...
Is that cold, hot water?
It's cold water. It doesn't really matter. I don't think so.
And you suggest everybody do this?
I would say do this so that your paintings will be flat when you remove them from your stretch thing. You know, they won't be warped, and you can mat them really nicely. So you see, this is about how wet you want it to be. There's, you can. It's not like falling apart, but it's definitely wet on both sides. You can feel that
it's going to absorb
it's gotten flimsy, right? So then I'll just show you how to do this. We don't necessarily have to do two.
I don't have to do it.
So say you're going to do whatever side this is. You wanted the nice shiny side. Okay, and I usually try to line it up so it's pretty close to...
Is this the rough? Or is that, you say it doesn't matter, whatever side?
Well, whatever side you wanted. Did you want the rough side?
I don't care. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just giving you the option. All right, so then what you're going to do is you're going to staple this corner.
Oh.
And then you're going to take your hand and push.
Oh, my goodness.
Just like that. And then you're going to
actually stretches.
Staple, this corner. And now you can do this, Diane. This is exactly what you're doing. And then you just go and you staple that corner down.
All artists do this, or just you?
Well, our watercolor artists do this, yeah. Okay, so go ahead and staple that corner down. You want to make sure your staples are straight and not too far out because you want to have room to paint, right?
I do, all right.
That's fine. And then you come over here and you line it up so it's straight along the edge. Okay, like that.
Okay.
And then you just kind of keep working it like this.
And if I didn't do this, if I'm a beginning artist and I don't do this first, then my artwork's going to just...
Your paper's going to warp.
It's just going to warp.
Yeah, and the more water you add. And so what we would do is just staple it literally all the way around. There would be staples, staples, staples. You see how the paper is trying to warp right there?
Oh, I didn't do a very good job.
No, you did, because what's going to happen is you've stretched it. So now when it dries, it's going to dry completely flat, even though it looks like it's warping right now.
Oh.
As the water comes out or is evaporated out of the cotton stretches, and it will be completely flat. So, yeah. And then what I generally do is figure out how, after this, how large I want my painting to be, what I want my dimensions to be. Then I draw, my line, and then I use blue painter's tape and lay it so that it's basically
kind of frames it a little bit.
It frames it in, and so you have a nice clean white edge to your paintings. So then when you go to mat and frame them, you've got clean edges to work with.
Okay, and then you have to wait for it to dry though?
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't want to use it right now. No.
And
yes,
do you have a bunch of
question.
these boards at home
I do.
ready to go?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so
you
do
can get
paint
these
every
boards.
day?
Yes. Yeah, I really do.
Is it like a job for you?
It is my job, yes. This is what I do for a
What if you
living
don't
now.
feel like painting?
Then I'm usually drawing or I'm doing research. So I'm always doing something.
this
I
is
just
your
finished a
job.
bunch of commissions, and I'm working on another one right now for the Point Public House that just, yeah, so they had me paint their dog, and I'm doing some
Oh,
little-
that's right. Somebody told me that you paint animals.
Yes.
So if I wanted you to paint my guinea pig,
Yeah.
actually, I'd love to have you paint my turtle. Would you? You could paint a turtle.
I absolutely
Does
could
the
paint a
turtle have to sit there for a long time?
No, I would take pictures of it.
Oh, you'd take pictures
I would come
of
and take
him.
pictures of it. You know, turtles may or may not be patient. You know?
Yeah, he might not want to sit
But it
for a
also
long
helps
time.
me get everything exact for that particular animal. So.
Oh, I would love to have you do a picture of my turtle.
Oh,
I
I'm
have
happy
owned
to
him
do
for
that.
20 years.
What kind of turtle is he?
Nobody knows. I've had experts even look at him, and they didn't know.
Oh.
So, yeah. Well, so thank you for sharing that. I
Yes,
didn't
I'm
realize
sorry
there
I
was so
messed
much
up your
prep work.
table
Oh, I
there.
don't know. Oh, is that from
It's just the dust
cotton
from the
paper?
acoustic board, yeah.
Okay. Well, we apparently have 5 more minutes.
Oh, okay.
And so, would you like to read one of these?
Read the whole book? It
No,
would
no,
take
no.
longer than, yeah.
No. Read maybe a favorite page. I love hearing authors read their books.
Well, I have a lot of favorite pages in this.
Are your books like children or something?
You spend a lot of time with them. Eula, for sure, she's a series. So the story of Eula is she's a black sheep with big dreams, and
Can we get the other book? I'll hold
This one?
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead. She's
a black sheep with big dreams, and she longs to see her name in lights and have an extraordinary life. And the other sheep at the farm just really don't understand her. And so she decides to leave the farm in search of adventure. And the first place she goes is to New York, where she sees that they're doing open auditions for this is Broadway.
Open auditions on Broadway.
And
Okay.
Eula's down there, and she sees that there's open auditions going on, and so she tries out, and she indeed gets cast as a black sheep.
Oh, do you want to read just a little page? Maybe not there, but what happens next? Is she frustrated?
She is. She says here's the costume director, and they've got her with her black sheep costume down here, and she says to the costume director, "But wait, I can be so much more than just an ordinary sheep." "Well, we don't want you to be more, darling. We want you to be a sheep. You probably don't need to don that costume, but I'm afraid you must lose those magnificent red galoshes," the costume director told her. Being ordinary was exactly what she had run away from. Her heart sank just a little. So she decides she has big dreams of the opera, and she sees herself in many of the major operas. And she goes to the opera, and she does get in to the opera at Sydney Opera House, but the prima donna is explaining to her that her only lines are ba ba. And so
They're not giving her many lines.
She gets disappointed, and she ends up going to Paris, because she's always had a fashion sense, and she decides she's going to be dyed pink, and instead she turns lavender because of her dark wool. The pink turned purple. So she goes out on the streets of Paris feeling very chic and quite unique in her purple wool and lavender shoes.
There's the Eiffel Tower.
And then the next day she wakes up and all of the poodles have copied her
Oh, no.
her signature fashion statement.
Yeah.
So she ends up realizing, and this is kind of her moment when she realizes that she was able to shine brightly where she was, which was at the farm. and the other sheep understood her, and Farmer Shepherd understood her, and she was able to shine in a special way. So she decides to return home.
Go home. So there's no place like home,
Yeah,
huh?
exactly.
So there's a good moral in that.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think
Which
that must
would
be
be
the teacher part of me.
Yeah, it must be. Well, a good book
Well,
has
one
a
of the
moral, I
things
think.
that she, we're all special in our own way, and the world sometimes tries to put us in a box, and you just have to fight that. You have to follow your dreams and your heart, and know that none of us are ordinary. So,
yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I am sorry to say this, but we have to wrap this up.
it's my pleasure to
Thank
be
you
here.
so much, Robyn. Robyn
you.
Chance.
Thanks,
And I'd love to have you back again
I'd love to be
sometime.
back.
So
It was
thank
great
you.
fun. Thank you.
Thanks so much to our crew. I'm really excited that this has been produced at TCTV in Olympia, Washington, and we have brand new equipment. And the crew that's produced this show are the first people trained to use that brand new equipment. So thank you to everybody on the new crew. And tune in again for the Just Getting Around show. Thanks so much for watching.